Hey, Houstonians. Okay, after 15 years of being in the real estate world here in Houston, I am finally excited and ready to share my story with you. I'm hoping that this inspires others to do big things, and it's about time. It's 15 years. I just had my 20-year high school reunion, and I'm like, oh my gosh, blast from the past. So, I would like to share something with you, which is kind of personal and juicy, and yeah, here goes. So this, if you knew me in high school, was my house. This is actually where I lived. I called it my box, funny enough. It's not this house. It is literally this commercial box right here. Let me zoom in. It looked a little bit better than this. Four concrete walls, metal roof, no insulation. It had a sink, it had a toilet, it had no shower. And that was my world for a couple of years through high school. Yeah, so if you knew me in high school, you probably have been to my box. And what's funny is I was so proud of it. Like I called it my box. I painted the inside. I was so proud of having it be mine and own something. And funny enough, it is commercial property on a highway. It's like the worst place to live. Across from, I don't know if you can see this, that, my friend, is a cemetery. Yeah, so talk about real estate. I did not own my real estate back then, but I lived in a box and it felt like it was mine, and I was so proud of it. So I wanted to share that with y'all so you could see kind of where I came from right here. Yeah, wild. You never know, right? Okay, so I share that to share not only a little bit about my history, but just perspective of, that was just four concrete walls, and I was so proud of it. I really didn't even know that I was poor. I just knew that I had something that was mine, that my grandmother had helped my mom buy it, and so I was able to stay there, which was really cool, and that was my box. And I grew up with a single mom. She worked harder than anybody I know. She still works harder than anybody I know. She's brilliant. And she was incredible of making sure that we had everything we ever needed, even if it meant that she worked extra. She's gone off now, if you know her. She's like brilliant. She developed subdivisions, and we've got three subdivisions named after our three children, and we've just come such a long way. It's just so incredible. She gave me way more than just food on the table. She gave me resilience, which I think grit and resilience is really important to have in our world. Something that I'm kind of realizing now that I've been in our home for a while is by the time I turned 21, I had moved 19 times. 19, that's a lot, right? Different addresses, oftentimes different schools, different beginnings. And somewhere through all of that moving, I kind of made myself a promise of like one day I would be in one spot for a minute, maybe 2 years or 3 years or 4 years. And that's, if you know Jeff and myself, our whole thing is legacy. We've got team legacy and legacy premier title, and we've got legacy preferred lending. And our whole thing is legacy because we want to build something that lasts. We want to give an impact. We want to give our kids a foundation that we didn't have before. And I just remember my grandmother had a restaurant, and at the age of 13, I started to work at my grandmother's restaurant. And every single summer, I would come back and I would work at her restaurant. And restaurant world is really hard. If you guys want to get into a profitable business, don't get into real estate restauranteering because restaurant business, you're working nights, you're working weekends, you're working holidays. We worked Christmas. We were open on Christmas. We worked Mother's Day. I was the hostess and the cashier. And even when I moved to College Station, I went to A&M. I would come back every single weekend and drive to go work at my grandmother's restaurant. And then I switched over to the dark side to UT. And every weekend I would drive back. And my first year in real estate in Houston, my first year every weekend, kind of hard to do open houses. Every weekend I would drive to East Texas and I would go work at her restaurant. But that restaurant wasn't just a job, it was my foundation. It was something that taught me responsibility at a young age, service because we had to work with people. Oh my gosh, some of those people. And then gratitude. But yeah, we didn't have it figured out our first year in real estate for sure. And every weekend I was still working. And so when I came to Houston, I had a prayer, and Jeff had a credit card, and we didn't know what abundance looked like. We very much were that scarcity mindset of how do we pay our bills. And I remember whenever I went to open up a bank account, the bank person was like, "Hey, do you want to open a savings account as well?" And I had this moment of, "What is that?" And he's like, "A savings account for when you have extra money that you don't need that month that you can put into this bank account and save it for later." And literally, my mind was blown. I was like, people have extra money that they don't need that month that just carries over to the next month because we had always lived paycheck to paycheck. I mean, I remember, us hiding from the landlord. The landlord would knock on the door and be like, "Are you in there?" Trying to collect her rent. And it was very much like rob Peter to pay Paul. If I could just make it through this week or this pay period, then we can be good for the next month. And it was so mind blowing to know that there was a savings account and that people had extra money that they didn't know what to do with. And so that was just how little I knew about wealth and stability. So yeah, we all start from somewhere. And then 10 years ago, I guess it's just over 10 years, I joined eXp Realty, real estate brokerage, and suddenly I was just surrounded by people who thought differently. They didn't talk about paying their bills. They talked about ownership. They talked about leadership. They talked about freedom. There were these like multimillionaires selling thousands of homes and coaching and mentoring thousands of people. And they saw potential in me before I ever saw it in myself. I had such imposter syndrome of, oh, I don't think I can be in the same room, of these people. I definitely couldn't speak on stage in front of these people. And they didn't just teach me real estate. They showed me what was possible. They showed me that there was a world much bigger than myself. And how blessed was I to be in Houston to be in real estate because, yeah, there's unlimited income potential here. Those people, they pushed me into leadership. They pulled me out of my comfort zone and slowly, very slowly, because I'm naturally really introverted, I started to rebuild. I started to build businesses. I started to build not just my business, but my identity of who am I and why am I capable and why do I deserve this life and who can I help? And so now I'm sitting in my beautiful office in my home in the Memorial. It's like a dream. I've lived here for 5.5 years next month. And I know 5.5 years doesn't seem like long, but 5.5 years is the longest time I've ever lived in a house ever. Yeah, it's pretty cool. So, what that means for me is that my children got to start kindergarten here. My kids get to go to middle school here. They've gone to the same local schools. They didn't have to make new friends. They have roots. They have the same friends, the same groups, the same sports they've done with the same kids for the last 5.5 years. They have stability. And that's something that I never had growing up, and I never knew how important it was until I finally had it, which is really cool. Real estate gave me that. Houston gave me that. Sorry, I get emotional. Houston gave me that. Real estate gave me that. And more importantly, God gave me that. This is something that I get to give my kids, which is so important to me. This industry, real estate, especially in Houston, it's not just about houses. It's about homes. It's about hope. It's about breaking cycles. Now I have 6 businesses, which is crazy. Many of them are six and seven figures. I have 3 beautiful kids. I get to have my weekends off. I get to spend time with them. I get to take them to the beach. I get to go to all of their sports or their choir or whatever event they have going on. I can say yes to all of it. I get to mentor other entrepreneurs. And more importantly, I am raising 3 children who will never have to move 19 times. They already know what is a savings account. They've traveled the world. They talk about investments and giving back. They dream without fear because they see that anything is possible. So that's why I do what I do. That is why I do what I do. This is why I host Coffee and Collaboration. This is why I started Real Estate in Black and White. This is why I have Team Legacy organization with over 1,000 agents that we're able to mastermind with. This is why I'm constantly creating spaces for others to learn, grow, and believe. Because it's not about me anymore. It's about helping others find their foundation and their stability for their future and their families. And teaching them that you don't have to have it all figured out to begin. You just have to begin. So to the realtors out there who don't own a home yet, I see you. I was you. I did have a box that I got to borrow for a while. We work so hard helping other people find their dream homes, but then we forget to build our own. And that ends here. I'm obviously very passionate about this. That ends here. That ends now. You deserve ownership. You deserve freedom. And you deserve to build your legacy. Don't let your past define your future. Don't be embarrassed of where you are now or where you came from. Just know that God doesn't waste anything. He doesn't waste your pain. He doesn't steal your struggle. God does not waste your story. He did not bring you into real estate to fail. He brought you here to serve. He brought you here to help others. He brought you here to make an impact and to show what faith and relentless belief can do for you and for your family. So, if you're ready to grow, if you're ready to build something that really lasts, if you're tired of chasing success that just doesn't fill your soul, message me. I'm here to help you get into the right rooms. I'll mentor you personally because I know what it's like to not have someone believe in you or to maybe not even believe in yourself. And I also know what it feels like when someone finally does. So, this is me, full circle, from box to building a legacy, multiple businesses, living the dream, and from instability to peace, from scarcity to abundance. So, if you're wondering if, you don't have to anymore. Just you'll know why. And for me to go from if I could to knowing now I know that I can do this and I can build this and I can help others. If my story can just give one person hope, if it could just show them that this is possible, then every move, every mile, every moment was exactly worth it. If you've already built a legacy, I challenge you today to help 10 other people do the same and then turn around and help 10 more because we are in this together. Stay strong, Houston. We are just getting started. Let's build something beautiful together. Thank you for letting me share my story. Much love.